Stealth games are quite the rarity, with just a few successful franchises and a couple of key ones missing in action, so smaller developers have stepped in to fill the void, with my picks beginning with Aragami, a Japanese-themed title where you play as a supernatural assassin using the shadows to your advantage. This game really makes you feel badass with the powerful shadow abilities at your disposal, really making you feel like an unstoppable assassin, where if you love this game, there's also a sequel named Aragami 2, which is available and has co-op support as well, but reality hits hard since this developer has shut down, showcasing how difficult it is to build a company of this genre. A smaller title that definitely flew under the radar is Basingstoke, which, don't let this trailer fool you, it is not as action-packed as it seems, but rather can be pretty tense since you don't want to alert the hordes of enemies. You're facing both the undead as well as alien monsters as you attempt to escape Basingstoke, which has become overrun, scavenging essential supplies as you go along. Enemies are deadly and you can die in one hit, so avoiding combat is key, where you have various items and tools that you can use to distract your enemies while you make a beeline for the next area, where this might have made it a little too tough and unforgiving, which explains its relatively low sales. Picture the scene, it's 3 AM and you're trying to get to sleep, but your neighbours are having a very loud party, so the question is, what do? Well, the answer in Party Hard is to murder everyone at the party without being caught, you know, normal person stuff, or perhaps the developer is a little sick in the head. Regardless, this makes it an interesting title since you need to dispatch of your victims without being caught, having 5 playable characters to choose from, each with different abilities, as well as a variety of level-specific traps and events that you can trigger, even being able to dance to blend into the crowd, and it's a fun title even with a disturbing premise. Now this title is one of the more unique entries since in Serial Cleaner, you play as a cleaner for the mob, having to get rid of dead bodies, evidence and blood before the police get there, or even when they do, to get rid of the evidence without being seen. The art style here is a highlight, as is the theme, which is very unique, especially back in 2017, and while there is a sequel named Serial Cleaners, plural, I do still prefer the first game. Alright, so this game might be secondarily a stealth game and is more of a detective puzzle game first, but the Sexy Brutale is too good not to mention, one that is set in a Groundhog Day-like time loop where all the guests at the mysterious Sexy Brutale masked ball are murdered every day, where you need to sneak around the casino mansion and to figure out what is happening. Due to game reasons, you must not be spotted by other characters, instead having to hide, observe and figure out how to prevent these murders, where this is very cleverly made and is excellent. One of the highlights of 2023 so far is Shadows of Doubt, a first-person detective sandbox simulation title where you play as a private detective taking on various cases, including stopping serial killers, where you need to sneak into apartments and offices to gather evidence, which can become rather intense since the cops or the perpetrator can come in at any moment. The voxel look is well done, with the procedurally generated sandboxes providing replayability, but it's an early access title and some cases do feel disjointed without motives for the criminals, but it's a great first step and is already good. The balance between stealth and action is a tricky one to get right, though I do believe Intravenous toes that line, essentially being stealth Hotline Miami with some pretty brutal combat, where going loud is the tough option and you need to get your stealth on. One of the classic must-play indie titles is Monaco, What's Yours Is Mine, a co-op heist title where players control different characters, each with their own special abilities, Ocean's 11 style, having to work together to pull off a caper, which of course involves not getting caught. This game has an interesting look with how vision cones are represented, shifting and changing as you move around corners, so it's not exactly the most pleasant of looks, but it does work for what they're going for. So even if this game is more than 10 years old at this time, grab a couple of friends and try this out for a great time and look forward to the sequel as well. A very underrated title from 2020 is Wildfire, a stealth title as a 2D platformer where you have the power of the elements at your fingertips, being able to freeze water, move dirt, as well as to cause chaos with the unpredictability of fire. Magic in this world has died out, so you are labelled as a witch by superstitious enemies hunted down by the Archduchess's forces. You need to locate and rescue your fellow villagers to get the numbers in order to reclaim your home, where the interactions between your elemental abilities and the environment and enemies are the highlight. You have so much choice in how you want to tackle any one scenario, which is another key feature for this genre. This next title is also relatively underrated, but is especially of interest since it's from developer Hoopu Games, who made Risk of Rain, where DEADBOLT is a stealth action title where you play as the Reaper on a quest to cull the undead hordes. It does resemble a game that I'll be talking about later on in this video, where the minute-to-minute action is great with a variety of weapons, but you do die in one hit, so you do need to plan and employ stealth to take out all your enemies effectively. This includes using air vents to move around, knocking on doors to attract attention, picking locks, or even cutting the power to plunge the building into darkness, where it is certainly more on the action end of things, but is very satisfying when you do complete the level. Stealth games and immersive sims do go hand in hand. See Thief, Deus Ex or Dishonored, where a must-play indie title is Gloomwood, where you're trapped in this city and must find a way to escape while sneaking around, dispatching off enemies or scavenging for resources. The 1990s graphics does make it look unique, but don't let the old school visuals fool you. This is more than it looks, where if you love this genre, do yourself a favor and pick this up.
1972, a crack commando unit threw me in a prison for a crime I didn't commit.
You're under arrest for a crime you didn't commit!
Hey, do you like Metal Gear Solid? Specifically Metal Gear 1? Well, Unmetal is exactly that, but with more of a direct sense of humor, where you play as a smart-mouthed soldier that is not an elite commando, having to fight and sneak your way out of an enemy base. This game is just dumb fun, with the developer not taking it too seriously, which did result in a couple of laughs from me with how ridiculous some of the scenarios are. And with good writing and voice acting, does make it great, but I'm honestly quite surprised that we do not have more indie MGS inspired titles.
Who's there? Damn cat. Who's there?
Another cat!
Another oldie but a goodie is the stealth action puzzle game, where you're able to manipulate and link switches and lights and triggers in the level all together. But the most satisfying part of this game is the pounce, being able to smash enemies through windows and to their deaths. Messing with the lights is a critical aspect that you need to master, where Gunpoint is a very cerebral title due to the linking system, but that doesn't make it any less of a stealth game. In the years since the original Mark of the Ninja was made, developer Clay Entertainment, also of Don't Starve fame, are now under the wing of Tencent, who own a majority stake, so they are no longer a small indie team. But if you have not played this, it is a classic for a reason, with the remastered version being the way to go. This has up to 4K support, as well as high resolution art and 5.1 surround audio, even adding some additional content and developer commentary, where this game simply makes you feel like a badass ninja striking from the shadows. It does introduce a variety of mechanics to mess around with, and is not one note, being stealth game perfection and is a no-brainer.
Time to move.
What was that, huh?
Alright, while this channel primarily covers indie games since I want to support the underdogs, there are some games which are just too good not to mention, even if they do come from 20, 30, 40 people teams, where one such example is Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, a real-time tactical stealth action title from 2016 that is one of the best games in the genre and among the best games of all time. You control a team of 5 completely different characters, each with their own special abilities, having to play on each other's strengths in order to accomplish the mission. Like most stealth games, there are plenty of ways to tackle any one situation, from how you approach enemies to who you use for the task. Developer BESTINDIEGAMES specializes in this type of game, with Desperados 3 being great, and the upcoming pirate-themed Shadow Gambit The Cursed Crew looking excellent as well.